Welcome to another tutorial on PfSense Firewall. On my screen is the PfSense Firewall version 2.6, and I have two ports. One is the port 1, other one is the port 2. Port 1 is configured with an IP of 192.168.0.129. Port 2 is configured with an IP of 14.140.40.129. So this is the network topology. So I have the Palo Alto Firewall on the other end, and the PfSense Firewall is using port 1 as the exit interface for the VPN, which is going to be certificate-based. So port 1, 192.168.0.129, and on Palo Alto Firewall, it's 1/1 with an IP of 192.168.0.111. And instead of configuring additional nodes, I have configured this particular IP on ETH1/2 with 14.140.40.111/32. And similarly, behind the behind the PfSense firewall, I have port 2 configured with an IP of 14.140.40.129/32, so that the host or the interface behind the Palo Alto can reach out to this particular IP, which is behind the PfSense firewall through the certificate-based IPsec VPN. So first thing first, this is the Palo Alto firewall, the remote end, and you can see that I have all the certificate imported into the cert store. So I'm going to download these certs, and I'm going to import this to the PfSense firewall as well. So let's start that. Let's go to the cert manager, and let's try to click on add. Descriptive name, let it be CA, and the method is going to be import the existing certificate authority. Let's try to check if I have that cert available on the system or not. Should be available because I generated it using OpenSSL. Okay, let's try to open this using Notepad, and let's try to copy this. Let's try to paste it here. So this is the certificate, and we'll have to paste the key as well. Let's try to find out the key. Let's try to copy the key. Okay. Let's try to save the changes. Okay, so now you can see that I have the certificate authority CA, which is imported successfully, and both the firewall have the same CA cert. You can check out the content. Now, next is the server certificate, which is used for the identification of both the peers. So let's try to import that as well. Before that, let me check if I have that downloaded or not. So this is the PfSense that I need. Let's try this option. If not, then we'll try to copy paste the content. Okay, so this is the PfCert. Let's try to add this cert and select the option import existing certificate. And we can name it as a PfCert. or we name it as PF. Let's try to click on PKCS 12 because we have imported that certificate in this particular format. So let's try to check if it is working or not. Okay. Click on save. Okay, so it is imported successfully. This is the server certificate for the PfSense firewall. And these all certificates were generated externally using the OpenSSL command. And if you want to know about that, I'll share the video link in the description, or you can see on your screen with a link to the video tutorial on how to generate and how to sign the certificate using OpenSSL commands. Now, moving forward, we have the CA cert and we have the certificate signed using that particular CA cert so that our firewall trusts the certificates signed by this particular CA. Let's move on to the configuration. Before that, I would like to show you the rules. And you can see here, simple rule to allow all the traffic. I don't want to create a specific rule. This is just for the demonstration purpose. Similarly, on port 2, you can see allow rule. Here also, you can see the allow rule. So no specific rule created, but in your case, if you're in production environment, definitely I would recommend you to go for the granular security policies. In NAT rule, I have the simple outgoing NAT rule and the exemption for the IPsec, ISACAMP. So let's get started with the configuration of VPN first. Click on VPN, select IPsec. Tunnels, there is no tunnel as of now. Let's try to create one. And let's try to name it as cert-based VPN. IKE exchange, I have kept it as IKE1. On the other end, I can show you the policy, phase 1 policy proposal, as you can see on my screen. So let's try to match it up. Interface is port 1. As per my diagram, as you can see, port 1 is used for the external interface for this particular gateway. And the remote IP address is going to be 192.168.0.111. Let's try to update that. Okay, moving on to the next section, which is the authentication section. Since we are using certificate for the authentication and the identification, we'll select the option of mutual certificate and we'll keep the mode as main, matching the mode that we have configured here. And moving to the next option, which is our identifier. Here you will have to select the ASN.1 distinguished name, because on Palo Alto Firewall, you don't have the option to change this if you're using cert-based VPN. So I'm going to change it to ASN.1 distinguished name, which is a standard, which is a format used for the ID payload. So my identifier, ASN.1 distinguished name. Similarly, I'll name it as this. And I think we can duplicate this to get the information about the distinguished name. You can simply go to the cert manager and the server cert. For example, this is the local cert. If you click on this button, you should see the distinguished name, and we'll have to just copy this. So my identifier is going to be this particular distinguished name. And for the peer, it is going to be IP address 111. And you will have to copy this from the certificate field. Otherwise, you might have a mismatch. Since I know my... Okay, let me show you the... Okay, this is the auto-fetched identification distinguished name, which is in the same standard ASN.1. And you can get this information from your certificate. And for some reason, the Palo Alto firewall is actually fetching the distinguished name in this particular format, whereas in the canonical name comes in front. But if you check here, it reads the data in the reverse order. So make sure you arrange the distinguished name as per the order that you see on the firewall. As I showed you in the last step, if you go to the certificate, if you expand the information, you'll see this particular value, distinguished name. So you can copy paste that value from there. And on Palo Alto, it auto fetches everything. So I don't have to worry. And Palo Alto is already configured. I'm not going to cover that configuration because there is already a video available on the same. So moving on to the next step, let's try to select the proper certificate, which is our PF, and we are going to use the CA certificate as our certificate authority certificate. Encryption algorithm next step is going to be 256-bit. SHA is again 256-bit. Group A is group 2 configured on my Palo Alto firewall. Let me show you the crypto again. This is the crypto 43200. This is phase 2. This is phase 1. You can see here all the information. Let me match up the proposal here as well. So yeah, 28800, 28800. Let's try to stick to that configuration. I don't want DPD for now, but you can enable it if you want to keep your phase 1 active all the time. So that's all in phase 1. Let's try to save this, apply the changes. So now we have phase 1 configured properly. You can see the information on your screen. And we'll move on to the next step, which is our phase 2 configuration. Expand this and click on add phase 2. Name it as phase 2. And you can select the mode as tunnel IPv4 mode, and you can select the local network as address. Local address is going to be this particular IP, 14.140.40.129/32. Let's try to update that. Okay, so this is the IP address configured on port 2. Let's try to update the remote IP address, which is going to be 14.140.40.111. So now we have the local network and remote network configured. By the way, this is already configured on the remote end as well. Let me try to fetch that detail for you quickly. You can see here the proxy ID configured, local and remote. So everything is matched up to the configuration that we have on each end. And let's try to configure the phase 2 proposal. So this is the phase 2 configuration proposal on the Palo Alto firewall. So I'm going to match it up. 43200. Let's try to match this to 256-bit. it is not GSM, it is CVC. This is by default CVC, so make sure you choose the proper one. SHA is 256, there is no PFS, so I'll keep it as off. Hashing algorithm SHA 256. And this is 43200. Let's try to update that to 43200. And let's try to save. Phase 1 already selected. Now we have the phase 2 configured as well. And I would like to show you one more thing, which is the routing. And if you come to my routing, you can see I have configured a static route pointing to the remote gateway VPN 192.168.0.108, which is the remote gateway. As okay, this is not the gateway. I guess it auto creates the routing, so we don't have to really worry about the routing. By default, FortiGate should create the auto routing and auto exemption policy. If not, then you can create a regular route pointing to the remote peer IP, which is 192.168.0.111. Let's try to move on with this configuration, and we'll come back to this part if the traffic is not flowing properly. So again, going back to our VPN configuration, we have phase 1 and phase 2 configured. Let's try to check the status. As of now, it is not up. Let's try to initiate the traffic from our this is my Palo Alto firewall CLI. Let's try to ping source 14 140 40 111. Host is going to be 14.140.40.129. So I'm taking a capture on my PfSense firewall. Let's try to initiate some traffic. Might take some time to bring up the tunnel. Let's wait for some time and see. Let's try to bring it up using the GUI, and then we'll try to initiate some ping. Okay, coming to our GUI, let's try to connect P1 and let's see the status there. So it is actually bringing up the tunnel. I can see that the proposals are being sent and are being honored. You can see here the authentication, which is our distinguished name, and the cert. So this is the cert that we actually imported and that is being used here. So you can clearly see that this is the canonical name for the Palo Alto firewall certificate established. So phase one is established. Let's try to initiate some ping now and see if that will work or not. Sometimes it takes a little for the IPsec to bring up the phases. So let's try to see. Okay, this is not the one that we wanted, I guess. This is already disabled. So I can see that the other end is actually creating the child essay, and it is still in the process of configuring it. Don't see it as established, but I do see the proposals here for phase two. Okay, seems like it is up, connected, and I can ping as well. Let's try to confirm the same. Let's try to recheck it. So you can see here, packet in 50, 55, it is increasing. And if I stop the ping, the packet count should stop increasing. This is not the one that we wanted. This is the one. You can see here 63. It is stuck at 63. Again, if I start the ping, I should see it increasing. You can see here 67, 72. That's all in this video. If you have any question, do leave them in the comment section. And please do not forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. And before ending, let me try to remove the unwanted entry here in phase 2. So I've removed the unwanted entry and everything seems to be working fine without the route, which is good. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you in the next one. Bye bye.